A towering figure in southern Arizona, a man who served our community for more than 5 decades in Tucson and Pima County and in the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C.
A school board member, a county supervisor, and a congressman, but he was more than a public servant to so many people. Thank you for joining us for this special edition on KGUN 9. Nearly 2 weeks to the day after his death, Raúl Grijalva will be laid to rest today.
Friends, family, people from really across southern Arizona and across the nation have already made their way to St. Augustine Cathedral. That is where the Mass is being held. We have team coverage this morning. Pat Paris joins us from outside the cathedral. Blake Phillips down the road at the El Casino Ballroom in South Tucson, where a celebration of life will be held.
And Bree Pacelli is downtown for us as well, breaking down everything you need to know about traffic, whether you're going to the funeral, the celebration of life, or just trying to drive through the area. But let's start now with Pat Paris.
Yeah, Pat, we know the Mass is about to begin. What are you seeing there across the street?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of people head inside to St. Augustine Cathedral. Moments ago, we actually saw Bishop Emeritus Kakanis, who will officiate the funeral mass today. We saw him go in with several other priests and getting ready for this service. I'm going to bring in Craig Smith real quick right now, who has covered Raúl Grijalva since the beginning of his political career in a lot of ways. We've seen a lot of dignitaries. We've seen a lot of just neighbors that paying their respects.
Yes, we saw people lining up, I guess about 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier, and it was sort of a who's who of local politics. We saw immigration activist Isabel Garcia. We saw Pam Simon, one of the members of Gabrielle Giffords' staff, who was shot and wounded in the January 8th mass shooting, and an awful lot of other people. Now, looking at what we see now, we see military honor guard. Apparently, by the numbers of them, we believe that they are probably going to be the folks who actually remove the casket and carry it into the cathedral. Representatives of all the services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. And then closer to the church itself, we see an honor guard composed of a mixture of Tucson police officers and Pima County sheriff's deputies, all ready for the respect associated deeply with this event.
Yeah, absolutely right. And of course, we'll be bringing you the funeral mass coming up here in just moments. We've got AOC Nancy Pelosi is scheduled to be speakers as well. This is a big deal. We understand some 52 congressmen and women will be here.
52 is what we understand from the local chief of staff for Raúl Grijalva's office. We don't have a list of exactly who is numbered among those 52 people, and actually for security reasons, we kind of suspect we're probably not going to see them go in the main entrance, more likely to go around the side door for security reasons. And there's certainly a lot of security here today. We've seen police, there's barricades on the street, and certainly a lot of police doing security work as well as honor guards.
Yeah, exactly right. Dan and Claire, we'll send it back to you now, but we'll be here throughout the Mass and then afterwards as well.
All right.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, and I was out there, bomb squad, a drone up. It is apparent that they are taking this seriously, obviously the security, because it is a big deal, as Pat said, to celebrate this life, but make sure to do it safely.
Definitely. Now, the Mass is set to begin momentarily at 10 o'clock this morning. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs and former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, as Pat mentioned, are among those speaking today.
All 3 of his surviving daughters will also be offering words of remembrance. Raúl Grijalva, as we know, was a public servant for more than 5 decades in Tucson and Pima County in D.C. He was a community organizer before he got his start on the Tucson Unified School Board, where he served from 1974 to 1986, again, getting his start in his 20s.
Then beginning in 1988, he sat on the Pima County Board of Supervisors for 15 years, and he was elected to Congress in 2002, where he became one of Arizona's longest serving members, if not one of Congress's longest serving members, before he died after a long battle with lung cancer on March 13th. People across the nation, including New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is also set to speak again at his funeral today, are really hoping his legacy lives on.
So we will never forget Raúl Grijalva and his dedication to the working families of our country.
I hope we all come together and ensure that we carry on Raúl's vision and his commitment and legacy.
Grijalva's funeral is open to the public, but especially at this point, it will be hard to get in if you were thinking about it. The cathedral can hold 1,300 people, and it is expected to be completely filled, first with family and friends, and then dignitaries, including the 52 members of Congress. Each of Arizona's 22 tribes is also sending a group of people today, so it will be a very much a packed house. Grijalva's family is asking that instead of flowers, you consider making a donation to the newly set up Raúl M. Grijalva Scholarship Fund.
Yeah.
A strong way to make a lasting impact.
Consider what he meant to the Sunnyside district. He had a school named after him. We talked about this, Claire, when he was not even 40 years old. That was back in the 1980s, Grijalva Elementary there in the Drexel Heights area. And so education was part of his passion, the environment, his passion. We were looking at the time served in Congress, and for members of the House, it's right about 8 or 9 years. That's the average amount of time served for those who were just sworn in the
years,
Senate.
not even terms.
Years, not
Right.
terms. Years, 8 or 9 years. 11 years was if you put the numbers in for those in the Senate. He served more than 20 years on the House side and again won 12 terms in Congress.
We do want to join the live stream right now. That is, we have this up and running. This is the feed. We're taking a live look right now from the live feed that they are playing at the cathedral this morning. Obviously, these are pictures of Raúl Grijalva. Just such a lasting legacy and such a huge impact he made. One thing we keep hearing and keep saying about him is that he was always so steadfast in his beliefs. You never wondered where he stood when it came to a political issue, which is something that is really respectable no matter which side of the political aisle that you're standing on.
I picture him dressing up perhaps with a bolo tie with turquoise in it. I mean, that's nothing said Southern Arizona better than Raúl Grijalva, someone who came from humble beginnings near Amado, south of Green Valley, and then again making his way to Tucson as his hometown, the University of Arizona. If there's anything that everybody can coalesce around, regardless of left or right, it's having pride in your community in Southern Arizona. We love those who represent us on kind of the national scale because Tucson gets forgotten about a bit. He wanted to make sure that that did not happen.
Well, and he stayed in his hometown and his community to go with being a Sunnyside High School grad,
Right,
and then to
yeah.
stay here for the University of Arizona, to graduate from the U of A.
School board.
And then, right, to serve on the TUST school board and start his political career right here in his hometown. It was just such a wonderful thing for anybody to do.
It's a legacy passing on to his daughter. We know Adelita Grijalva on the County Board of Supervisors,
Right.
and where he served as well.
So we do want to talk a little bit about the road closures that are happening right now around the cathedral, just because so many people are going to Grijalva's funeral today. We should keep in mind Stone is closed right now from McCormick down to Ochoa Street, which is just past St. Augustine.
Yeah, it's right there in front of the cathedral. Same goes for Church Avenue on the other side of the cathedral. That is closed from McCormick to Ochoa. That main stretch, the closure is expected to last until 1 p.m. And again, TPD's got a good handle on the situation there. Bree Pacelli has been out there all morning long, kind of helping folks get from A to B. Bree, what are you seeing where you are?
Yeah, you know, traffic is definitely looking much different from what we saw earlier this morning. I'll kind of take a step aside to show you what it's looking like right now. Claire, Dan, like you guys mentioned, Stone is closed all the way from McCormick all the way to Ochoa. That's what they said earlier, and that's what it's looking like right now. TPD to put up 2 different barriers just to, you know, make sure no one's coming through. There have been a little bit of cars affected by these road closures. You can see someone is pulling through right now. TPD is just rerouting them and redirecting them down McCormick. McCormick is still open going east and westbound at this time. But as far as traffic goes, we've really been seeing a lot of foot traffic. That's what we've been seeing more throughout the morning, especially as the service has begun. Right to the right of me over here, this is the TCC parking garage, and we've been seeing a lot of people coming through there. This is where a lot of people are parking, or the La Placita garage, which is on the other side of the church. So mainly foot traffic in this area right now as the service has now began. But I'll send it back to you guys for now.
All right, Bree, thank you. And let's go to Pat Paris, who is live right now outside the St. Augustine Cathedral, where this Mass will be happening.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know, for those not familiar with the Catholic funeral mass, I can tell you as a practicing Catholic and someone who's attended church services here at St. Augustine many times, this is a big deal that the Bishop Emeritus, Gerald Kakanis, is presiding over this funeral mass, and that tells you about the stature and the importance of Raúl Grijalva and what he has meant to this community. I talked with Monsignor Raúl Treviso, who is the pastor at St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church down on Ajo on the south side, that was the church that Raúl Grijalva and his family often attended. They were members there, and he talked about how much of a lasting impact that Raúl Grijalva has had on the south side of Tucson and that parish in particular, and how much he will be missed. Monsignor Treviso, who is attending the funeral mass today, talked about meeting Raúl Grijalva back in around 1974. He thought that was the first time they met at the University of Arizona, and they were definitely impacted then. We are seeing the family members now of the Grijalva family making their way over from the cathedral offices and the Bishop Cacanis Pastoral Center, making their way now into St. Augustine Cathedral. This is a live look outside as we wait for the funeral mass to begin. We see, as Craig Smith talked about, all branches of the military being represented here in what is likely to be a pallbearer scenario for them. And we see now, as we get ready for this mass to begin, the family of the Grijalvas getting ready to go in. A lot of pomp and circumstance, as you would expect, with such an important figure as Raúl Grijalva, the 22-year congressman out of southern Arizona. And we expect the pallbearers to come get the ashes. He was cremated, and it will be a service where there will not be a casket, but rather an urn with the remains, and that is in the automobile to our left that we'll expect to see the pallbearers to come over. Craig Smith joins me now as well, and Craig, you can talk about the honor guard that's now marching over to get the urn to take it into the church.
Well, you can see that they made a special effort to get all the services represented, and this is you may be able to see the Army sergeant in the closest to us. There's a little tab on his uniform that says Honor Guard. This is a specialty that they train for at great length, take very seriously, that their drill, their movements will be perfect, their uniforms will be perfect, and it's a real gesture of respect for them to have what in the military world is called a good turnout, that they are perfectly ready to go and uniformed. And from what we can see,
yep, they've got an urn and the flag on the other side.
Yes.
And the urn has a cross. It has a bolo tie around it, is what it has. And we heard Dan Spindle say earlier, it was so fitting that Raúl Grijalva loved to wear the turquoise bolo tie, and fittingly, it's around the urn.
And I heard it said that he was very against ties, but I think bolo ties were an exception and part of a personal style statement.
That's right, and certainly fitting for southern Arizona and the district that he represented. And we see the honor guard now, and the celebration of Raúl Grijalva as they now march towards the steps to go into St. Augustine Cathedral here in downtown Tucson. And I mentioned earlier, Craig, that Bishop Cacanis, Bishop Emeritus Cacanis, doesn't often say funeral masses, but this is certainly a reason enough for him to come out of semi-retirement for this.
And I just noticed something when I got a better look at one of the uniforms. The Space Force is represented
Space Force
here
is
as
here
well.
too.
Their
That's
uniforms look very much like Air Force.
Air Force, because
Force.
they're part of the Air Force in a way. They're associated with the Air Force, but the Space Force. And you see the Grijalva family now going in, most of them dressed in black, as we see them enter into St. Augustine Cathedral as the funeral mass for Raúl Grijalva is about to begin. And we see the salute by the Tucson Police Honor Guard and the Pima County Sheriff's Honor Guard as well, Craig.
Yes, and what we expect to hear once the service begins, and that is something we're going to stream for you live so you can watch from home if you choose, that it's going to be a mixture of political friends and personal friends and longtime acquaintances, people who have worked with Raúl Grijalva since way, way, way back, and also some of the leaders of the current Congress are going to speak.
All right, we're going to send it back to you in studio now as you prepare for the live stream of the funeral mass. Dan and Claire.
Wow, gentlemen, thank you. What a view outside, and moments that everyone can relate to. It's not a day of division. It's a day to think about anyone who's been to a funeral. This is a very special moment. A lot of emotions going on with the family and friends there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always think about that, but politicians are people too. And, you know, his family, this is an extremely emotional day for them, and a wonderful way to be able to honor his legacy, both professionally and personally, is what we're seeing right now. The music now playing. This is the live stream that we're watching as well from inside the cathedral there.
You can hear it, a strong display of Southern Arizona here. It just represents the region in which he was born, grew up, and stayed his entire professional life while going back and forth across the country to make sure he performed his duties in D.C., but always kept those roots here in Southern Arizona, the Tucson area.
A true sacrifice for any family member to have to make, and he, was committed to that for decades. Now, after the funeral today, family and friends and more will make their way to the El Casino Ballroom for a celebration of life.
Yeah, Blake Phillips is there. Blake, how will that go a bit later on as we prepare for this funeral mass to begin?
Well, yeah, it's 2 to 6 later this afternoon, and it's kind of a place to come together and celebrate him, not in a mass setting, right? The mass is really focused on mourning. I've been talking with Fred Martinez, the manager here at the El Casino Ballroom, rich in history here in South Tucson, and he says that they're expecting a very big turnout to celebrate everything that Congressman Raúl Grijalva was all about.
All right, Blake, thank you so much. Yes, obviously it's going to be a wonderful celebration of life today, but of course the funeral does have to happen first, a somber mourning that will start, and then hopefully the celebration will be a joyous occasion for so many people who are able to attend.
Well, and for those who were close to the congressman as well, from here in Southern Arizona, it's good to kind of get that perspective along with those. Again, AOC, who's a very prominent Democrat, she gets to come experience a bit of what Raúl Grijalva's circle is like, and that circle, kind of a broad circle here across the Tucson metro.
Well, one thing I love about the celebration of life that we've heard is that Raúl Grijalva himself was actually able to coordinate all of his favorite restaurants to come in for the celebration of life. It'll truly be a celebration of so many things. Tucson, it's going to be a who's who of the best food in Tucson. It's going to be really special, great way to celebrate. I
mentioned as a young reporter getting to interview him some 15, 17 years ago, he was someone who, when you interview politicians, sometimes you get a front or you get platitudes and talking points. Never with Representative Grijalva. He knew what he wanted to say. He knew what he believed in.
Let's go back to the live stream now. It looks like the mass is starting. Can we listen in?
Vengo a darle las gracias. Vengo a darle las gracias por el trabajo, el apoyo, el esfuerzo y la determinación que él ha tenido, toda su familia, toda su vida, para la gente trabajadora, la gente humilde, los inmigrantes, las naciones indígenas. Todo el trabajo de su vida se merece las gracias de esta comunidad, no solamente para él, pero para su familia, Ramona, Adelita, Raquel, Marisa, Emilia, Norma. Pero no es una pérdida de una voz de nuestra comunidad, yo no lo veo así. Lo veo como un enfoque nuevo para nosotros, para seguir adelante, que es lo que el congresista Raúl Grijalva hubiera querido, que nosotros nos enfocáramos hacia el futuro con las nuevas generaciones para seguir luchando, para continuar de ser la voz para aquellos que no tienen voz, así como lo fue toda su vida mi amigo Raúl Grijalva.
Like many of us, Raúl brought me into the Grijalva family when I was a young man. Over the past 40 years, Raúl and I bonded together as brothers. We're up every week in room, being in this fight together. He always introduced me as his friend, who works with me. Raúl and magnetism that drew in hundreds of people to walk months on end in 100-degree weather, so that his voice remained in public service. Raúl loved walking neighborhoods, but I think his deep-seated motivation and passion was really yard sale shopping. He would come back proudly display his odd and bizarre treasures, which would be followed by, "Isn't this cool?" and regardless of your response, he'd say, "I'll sell it to you." He really made sales. Well, was charming, passionate, incredibly humble, and easily the most down-to-earth person I've ever known. After walks, volunteers, we joined Raúl for hours on end, tossing around in the bowl while basking in his light. He enjoyed telling stories, real life and especially tall tales. Those tales were many into his web. His real life stories were always relatable and impactful. He loved jokes, joking around, and playing tricks on friends. Raúl developed many relations in Congress, but his connection to Indian country was very special. Raúl had a great respect for tribes even before he came to Congress, but it was his dedication to their interests that earned him their respect and then grew into deep mutual love between Raúl and all nations, all tribal nations. In closing, when home in Tucson, Raúl had a morning ritual of having coffee and a donut on the back of his porch. We did this for decades. I continued it throughout our days together. During one of those last morning coffees, I began to work myself up into a frenzy over the headlines of the day. Not a surprise. With limited energy, Raúl gently turned to me to say, you're getting yourself all worked up." His words cut into my rant, calming me down, and even making me laugh. He was looking out for me till the very end. I will keep that memory and all other precious ones of Raúl in my heart forever. Please keep yours as well. Thank you.
Raúl and I used to call Glenn the brownest, more Chicano gringo you'll ever meet. My name is Rubén Reyes. I was, whatever you want to call it, district director for 22 years, but I knew him way before then. But I didn't come here to say goodbye to Raúl. I came to thank him. See, Raúl was not a congressman. He was a lifelong activist who happened to be a member of Congress, and his community loved him for it, for his unflinching, unwavering, unapologetic, happy-go-lucky style. I was a farm worker, University of Arizona college kid from the small town of Somerton, Arizona, when I first met Raúl in the fall of '87. I was in a college group called Mecha, Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, and Raúl was our advisor. We would meet at General Ben's to discuss the Chicano movement and how we would take over Aztlán or have a car wash. I thought he was a little weird, and he asked me about Somerton, about working in the fields. He liked hearing my stories about my dad, de mis padres, and nuestro movimiento, and our involvement in the Cesar Chavez movement. If you were down for the movement, Raúl was down for you. He seemed to like Somerton a lot. He said, "Those pesticides must have done a number on you because you guys from Somerton are out to lunch. Especially your sister," Raúl used to call my sister Norma, "the real Reyes." I have never liked the term the Grijalva machine because it dehumanizes Raúl and the movement that we are all part of. Raúl introduced me to politics and to Tucson. And when you go to a Grijalva campaign, you meet so many wonderful people with a rich history of Southern Arizona. I met people like Isabel Garcia, Raúl Aguirre, Guadalupe Castillo, John Miles, lifelong friends, Ana Ma, Chris, Cassandra, Rosemary Marquez, on and on. All of them with wonderful stories of the struggle. A Grijalva campaign has always been a gathering of traviesos, desastrosos, riffraff, descalzos, rebel rousers, reprobates, as he used to say, and all around ne'er-do-wells, and it was fun. And boy, did we eat good. At the campaign headquarters, I was always asked, what are we gonna have for lunch? And we used to say, Raúl and I, if you finish canvassing your precinct, it will be tacos Abson. In fact, it was working on one of these crazy campaigns that I met my future wife, Regina Romero. But Raúl and I would travel throughout the district together many times, and every time it was amazing to see him talk to everyone in Cochise County, in Nogales, in West Valley, and in Yuma County. He would talk to all the community leaders, mayors, supervisors, but also he would talk to the waiters, the landscapers, the teachers, the immigrants, the construction workers, easily swaying back and forth in English and Spanish. But being in a car with Raúl was an experience. Some of you guys know this. When we would travel to Somerton, I thought that I would get quality time with him and get a lot of work done. It's a 4-hour drive. By the time we were at Picacho Peak, the car would be a mess, newspapers and coffee stains everywhere. His bean burrito half eaten and half on his sweater vest. Yes, Raúl wears the Veterist in Arizona in July. He would try to brush the beans off his vest and ask me, does this look better for the press conference? I said, no, man, it's all over you. Nah, he would say. By the time we hit Gila Bend, I would try to talk business with him, but he would have none of it as he rolled down the window and make the wind a bigger mess of the notes in the newspaper. He would light a cigarette and the ashes would fly right back inside, and he would crank the music as loud as he could. The only problem is that Raúl likes to listen to music, like his songs, 15 seconds at a time. Ooh, I like that song, and then he hits fast forward. We would listen to albums, entire albums in less than 5 minutes. The only time we ever listened to an album from beginning to end was when he popped in a CD, by the way, that he had stolen from my desk and re-gifted it back to me for Christmas. It was a Bob Marley CD, and watching him air guitar play it, scream through the wind and say, don't worry about a thing, everything's gonna be all right. And then he looked at me and says, tell me the truth, Ruben, if you could sing like that, would you be working for me? Years later, I now have a son in college. I have a daughter at Pueblo High School, the same Pueblo High School where his grandchildren go to. And these young people, they restarted Mecha at Pueblo High School. Now, I don't know if they're ever gonna overtake Aztlán, but I do hope that they meet a counselor, a leader, a mentor, an advisor like I did, somebody like Raúl, somebody that encouraged them to speak their voice, somebody that tells them that it is okay to hope, somebody that tells them that not only is it okay to speak for yourself and to speak for others that can't, but that it is expected of you. We see his family, and especially Mona, what I call Raúl's secret weapon, the lady with the best hugs in the world. Each of us, all our Grijalvistas, will honor Raúl in our own way, and I have no choice but to work on other campaigns and do what I can, but I will eventually make my way back to Somerton, in the middle of the night, and somewhere along Gila Bend, I will roll down that window and let that crazy midnight desert air make a wreck out of my life one more time, and I will play, this time on Spotify, Bob Marley, and I know that I will not be alone when I start hearing those lyrics. Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing gonna be all right. Gracias, Raúl. Adelante, Grijalvistas.
Good morning. It is my honor to be with all of you this morning as we gather to celebrate the incredible life and legacy of Congressman Raúl Grijalva. Thank you so much to the family for including me, and I offer you my deepest condolences to all of you. Mona, who he spent more than 50 years with and built a cherished life filled with love, and his incredible daughters, Adelita, Raquel, and Marisa. Thank you so much for sharing so much of him with all of us. Congressman Grijalva was many things: a devoted father, grandfather, husband, and friend, a champion for justice, the son of a migrant worker, a bracero, who grew up from this humble beginning to embody the American dream. But throughout his life and career, it is abundantly clear that he never forgot where he came from. He believed in the power of working people and was a champion for people-first policies. He was a man unafraid of speaking truth to power. He fought for the dignity of working people, for tribes defending their sovereignty, for communities seeking to preserve their heritage and environment, for those who might otherwise have been forgotten, for opportunity for all. Congressman Grijalva believed, as do I, in the basic goodness of people. His service was not driven by power or prestige, but by duty. Throughout his time in public office, he never forgot why he was there, for the Arizonans he represented. From his early days as a Tucson Unified District board member, to his time on the Pima County Board of Supervisors, and finally in the halls of Congress, Congressman Grijalva dedicated his life to uplifting others. As the dean of Arizona's congressional delegation, he never wavered in the face of a challenge, because he understood that his highest duty was not to politics or a political party, but to the people of Arizona. His courage and integrity were unwavering, and his commitment to justice unmatched. He made sure those who weren't in the room were never forgotten. His conviction, his fight, and his love for the people of Arizona and this country were the driving forces in his life. There are so many examples of this, but I saw this most recently when I accompanied him, along with many other leaders, to the signing of the Baj Nuevo Itacucfeni National Monument designation near the Grand Canyon. This is a designation that the congressman fought for his entire career. It was his effort and his vision that ensured that this sacred place, this world-renowned treasure, would be protected for future generations. Congressman Grijalva's spirit and his legacy are forever stitched into the fabric of Arizona. And that is why today, as we mourn his loss, we also celebrate this legacy, a legacy of service, values, love, and unyielding dedication to his community. The congregation here today, filled with leaders, friends, family, and Grijalvistas, is a testament to this life well lived. And while he may no longer walk among us, he will continue to guide us. Rest well, Congressman Grijalva.
Good morning. Thank you all, y bienvenidos, for gathering here today to celebrate and honor the life of Raúl Grijalva. And thank you to Raúl's family, his wife Ramona, his daughters Adelita, Raquel, and Marisa, and his grandchildren for receiving us with such grace as we mourn his loss. Today I've been entrusted with the awesome responsibility of reflecting on Raúl's legacy and mentorship. Raúl was one of the most generous, wise, and principled people I'd ever met, and he had one of the best laughs imaginable. And as I sat with the weight and prayed over the weight of this task to speak to this today, I could almost hear Raúl's voice in the back of my mind saying, "Make it good, mija, okay?" Raúl was born in 1948, not too far from here in Canoa Ranch, south of Tucson, to his mother, Rafaela, and his father, Raúl. Raúl was a self-professed mama's boy. And in a conversation he once recorded with his daughter Marisa for the Library of Congress, he told a definitional story of his upbringing. You see, when young Raúl was in the 7th or 8th grade or so, he had earned a prestigious academic award at school, and it was given to just a small amount of students. The school told him to invite his parents, but at the time, he let the ceremony go by without telling his mother, because in those early adolescent years, he had, in his words, felt embarrassed because she couldn't quite speak English and all the other parents could, an experience that many bilingual children can relate to. 3 months go by, and well, I'll let Raúl's words tell the rest of the story. I quote, "Pasaron como 3 meses. 3 months go by. The ceremony's over, and my mom turns to me and says, ¿Cómo te fue el premio? How'd the award go?" She knew. She then told Raúl, "Mira, mijito, no te olvidas que naciste con un nopal en la frente. Don't forget, you were born with a nopal, a cactus leaf on your forehead, and that's you. That's who you are, and you should never be embarrassed about it." That moment changed Raúl. He spoke about how it prompted him to become more conscious of how people treated one another and to become more aware of issues in his community. Raúl became a dedicated community organizer, elected by his community to the school board, and then to the Pima County Board of Supervisors, where he championed historic bilingual education measures, and then elected later to Congress, where he spent over 20 years rising in post after post, sagely advising the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, chairing the Congressional Progressive Caucus for 10 years, and ultimately ascending as chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee, stewarding responsibility over virtually all federal and tribal lands in the United States. And the remarkable thing about it all is that if you were just a person talking to or joking around with him for the first time, you'd never know. Siempre con un nopal en la frente, always carrying that proverbial cactus with him. Raúl constantly championed the unseen and overlooked, and in addition to the people of his district, he was beloved from tribal communities in Alaska to rural campos in Puerto Rico. More than any title or bill can possibly describe is the impact Raúl had on an entire generation of leaders and young people in the state of Arizona and nationally. Raúl had a gift for mentorship and for identifying talent that could otherwise go overlooked. But he never leaned on his considerable experience and knowledge to condescend to others or to pull rank. And he always treated even the newest members of Congress as respected partners in governance. Raúl gave me and so many countless others real and rare opportunities to grow and to lead. From, in just my second term, entrusting myself alongside Congresswoman Nidia Velázquez and Representative Soto to lead negotiations on the Puerto Rico Status Act, and to later then giving me my first opportunity to lead a subcommittee as the ranking member for Energy and Mineral Resources. At the time, when he asked me to take this post, he told me it was his goal to prepare and hand over as many of his subcommittee gavels to women as possible. And he did. That's just who Raúl was. No statements, no pressers, he just did it. And that commitment was born of his principles as much as it was born from his endless love for his wife Ramona and his 3 daughters, Adelita, Raquel, and Marisa. He was a tío to many, including me, gifting countless people from busboys to chairpersons his famous artworks drawn on committee stationery, and sharing his equally famous jokes as a token of affection. And he was a prankster. And I'll end with this. One time, Raúl and I had the honor of being invited by Speaker Emerita Pelosi to join the United Nations Climate Summit as part of an esteemed delegation. As we walked through the summit, a crush of young people and advocates began following the delegation, and it started getting crazier and crazier. People shouting out and asking for pictures, and the fervor started growing and growing. I had never experienced something like this before, and I turned to Raúl and I said, "Tío, can you believe this? What's going on over here?" And he turns to me and says with his wry smile, "Mijita, I told them you were Katy Perry." That was Raúl, siempre con el nopal en la frente, his cactus, and reminding us of ours too. May we all learn from his example and to live generously, wield what we can for others, and let our sense of humanity lead the way. Que en paz descanse. Thank you.
I was there at that conference, and I saw the Congresswoman get her own reception. Any other celebrity would have been envious of it, but it was wonderful the way Raúl characterized it. Well, today is my birthday, and I consider it a blessing to be here with with Raúl's family and so many of his loved ones and so many friends. I come here to sing his praises, but also to thank you for making Raúl the person, the leader that he is, and also for sending him to Congress. Thank you, Tucson, for that. Congresswoman Grijalva, Mr. Chairman, was a beloved colleague and a dear friend, and many of us can make that claim in the delegation. As one of our colleagues, Congressman Greg Stanton, the former mayor of Phoenix, spoke recently honoring Raúl on the floor of the House. He said, Raúl was a man with moral clarity of purpose and kindness for the least of us all. Whether you were staff or speaker, he treated everyone the same. He called me boss, I called him boss. Did he call any of you boss? I don't know. No. Okay, now I feel very privileged. Isn't it something, but should be no surprise, that Raúl, who grew up with 2 sisters and has 3 daughters with Ramona, would be so respectful of women in the Congress of the United States and give so much support to them. I'm very, very honored to be here, but I'm especially happy that so many members of Congress are here. On the House Democratic side, Catherine Clark leads us as the House Democratic Whip and the chair of the Progressive Caucus. Where are you? Mr. Espaillat, leading the Congressional Caucus, our chair, Pete Aguilar. And also on the Republican side, members here, we come with the good graces of the Speaker and Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Will the members of Congress please stand so they can see how many of you are here? Present and former members. It's about 50 members. This is remarkable. It took 2 planes to get us all here. Chairman Grijalva was a trailblazer, you know that, and a committed public servant who served his nation and lived his life with honor, integrity, and faith. This coming to Congress was not the beginning of his leadership. He enjoyed it here, he practiced it here, he learned it here, and he took it to Congress. During his decades of public service, Raúl was a champion for the people of Arizona and the community he loved. He was a fighter for the unseen, first as a community organizer and local official, and later for more than 2 decades in the Congress of the United States. I keep calling him Raúl because otherwise I'd be calling him boss, but anyway, Raúl was a deeply respected member of the House Democratic Caucus, as you can see by the attendance here, and will be missed dearly by all who knew him. How well was he respected by the caucus? Well, there's one thing I want to tell you, a little story about Congress. When members come to Congress, one of their asks, a coveted ask, is to be a member of the Ways and Means Committee. It's the oldest committee in the Congress. I, as an appropriator, don't view it the way some of the new members do, but they all, if my members will attest, it's a coveted position, right? Coveted position. But new members don't get on the committee. It takes a little time. When I had the opportunity as Speaker to name someone to the committee, I chose Raúl Grijalva to be a member of the committee. He accepted with gratitude and understanding what it was and the rest. And then we have a process where you have to be elected by the caucus to the position. Right the morning of that we were having the vote, he said, I can't serve on this committee. I just found out I'd have to give up my gavel on the subcommittee on Interior. Subcommittee, I'm not talking chairman, I'm talking about subcommittee on Interior. That is my priority. That is my priority. How smart he was, because eventually he would become the chairman of the Interior Committee, and we're also proud to support him in that. But he, my colleagues, you'll appreciate, just brushed away the Ways and Means Committee. As a testament to who he was, that he had this as his priority. As chair of the National Resources Committee, he was a tireless voice for protecting the beauty of God's creation as we gather in this cathedral, for advancing environmental justice for all. What did he mean when he said it was a priority? Why was this so important to him? Because he envisioned how to protect our natural and cultural heritage in his way. He did so as a prolific and successful legislator, standing with the tribes to win permanent protections for them at Grand Canyon. Also, he led passage of the Great American Outdoors Act, one of the most significant environmental conservation acts in a very long time. Just to name a few, the list goes on and on, but I didn't get that much time. But you know, he was remarkable. He was immensely proud of his Hispanic heritage. Really, early on, I was just mentioning to Nydia Velasquez, and Maxine Waters, Nydia was the chair of the caucus when he came into Congress, and then the very next Congress, he became the chair of the Hispanic caucus. Raúl drew on his experience as a community organizer to mentor young Latinas and Latinos, as we heard so beautifully from Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. His legacy is seen in countless leaders he taught, mentored, inspired, many who serve proudly in the Congress today, and many of whom are with us today. I was particularly grateful when he brought his perspective of his caucus, the Hispanic caucus, but also his service on the Progressive Caucus as we wrote the Affordable Care Act. He was very central to all of that, and that would take a long time to tell you all the contributions he made there. But please know, thanks to Raúl, our future is brighter, more durable, more represents our nation's beautiful diversity, his beautiful diversity. He was a champion, again, he was a championing, addressing the rights of our indigenous community. That was really a major priority for him. as it was for you, Congressman Gallego, now Senator. I mentioned the family earlier, and I saw that so many people came in with the family, so that was a broad description. But in any event, Deb Haaland was the first, really, in our time. We were so proud as an indigenous member of the Biden cabin. At the same time, he was honored about the heritage of our nation as being a nation of immigrants and worked hard for our patriotic dreamers. Talked about the dreamers so much. This was a remarkable person to serve with. We're all grateful to all of you for the role that you played in working with him and in sending him, as I said earlier, to the Congress of the United States. But I can tell you this, as one who loved him and spoke with him quite a bit, above all, Raúl was an adoring father, husband, and grandfather. His family was the light of his life. They were his pride and joy. Thank you, Ramona and daughters Adelita, Raquel, and Marissa, for sharing this beautiful soul with us. I know I speak for everyone who spoke, and that thank you for the honor of doing this. And may be grateful, may we comfort to the entire Grijalva family, the entire family, that so many people mourn your loss, praying for you at this sad time, and joining you in wishing that Raúl Grijalva, Mr. Chairman, the boss, will rest in peace. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. I know these events are difficult, but I am so happy that we're all together. And it's wonderful to see my former colleagues here. I'm just really honored to be here with you. And also just recognize all the tribal leaders who made time away from their communities to be here with us today. It means a tremendous amount to me personally, and I know it does to the family, so thank you. Thank you. Good morning to you all, and I'm honored to be with you all as we mourn the loss of a voice of conscience on the national stage. As we mourn, we also celebrate the life of our dear friend, colleague, and leader, Raúl Grijalva. My name is Deb Haaland, and I served as Mr. Grijalva's vice chair while on the Natural Resources Committee, and I was proud to also serve alongside him as chairwoman of the Subcommittee on National Parks, Forests, and Public Lands. After I won my election in 2018, I saw Mr. Grijalva at the Democratic Club one evening, which I came to find out he was there a lot. Mr. Grijalva had a strong connection to New Mexico. His wife Ramona's family is from a small town in northern New Mexico called Peñasco. Yes, go Peñasco. And some of her family lived in my district. Anyway, that day, in the Dem Club, he said that he knew I would win after he spoke with his sister-in-law, and she said that my campaign staff knocked on her door 4 times. So we were doing our jobs. After that exchange, we became good friends, and there generally was not a day that went by that I didn't see Mr. Grijalva in committee, in the hall, on the House floor, in his office, or in my office for pozole during the holiday season. I was lucky enough to sit next to him in committee as he doodled beautiful images that reflected life, always with someone in mind to gift his art. I am fortunate to have one myself. His quick wit and moral compass stood strong in the face of a certain chaotic administration that I was elected into the year that I was elected, he was unwavering in his work to protect our air, land, and water, and a powerful advocate for tribal communities everywhere. He supported me even after I was gone from the House. He worked to set a constructive tone for contentious hearings. He stood up against bitter attacks and pointed out hypocrisy whenever he saw it. He led in a quiet but very strong way that steered people in the right direction. And he left the ladder down for others to climb, lifting up his colleagues, moving us to stand up for what's right, always in the name of those who couldn't stand up for themselves. In these uncertain times, we have an obligation to live up to the sacrifices that our leaders have made for us. Mr. Grijalva empowered me and so many others, and his legacy will live on in each person he lifted up, in each doodle that he gave to someone who supported the work he set out to do, and each accomplishment he achieved for future generations. But most of all, his legacy will live on in his family, who shared him with the country for so many years and carry his lessons with him. Dawa, thank you all so much for having me today. Thank you.
We now begin to celebrate the funeral Mass. Today's celebration includes the Liturgy of the Eucharist. For those of you who want to receive Holy Communion, please come forward when it is time. Those who do not wish to receive communion may come forward with arms crossed and receive a blessing from the minister. Others may remain quietly in your seats for prayer. Bishop Gerald Kakanis and our priests and deacons begin now. Please stand.
Please be seated for just a moment. First of all, join me in thanking our 6 speakers who paid tribute to Raúl, his humor, his convictions, his service, his care. Let's thank them again for their words. First, to you, Ramona, our condolences and our prayers. You know, you married Raúl in 1971, 54 years ago. It was in this very church that you came down the aisle, this long, long aisle, and took his hand, and you looked at him and he looked at you. And you said to each other, I promise to be true to you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. I will love you and cherish you all the days of my life. And you have done that, through good times and difficult times, through sickness and in health. God bless you. To his lovely daughters, Analita and Raquel and Marissa, he loved you guys, delighted in you, proud of you, spoke often of you. And to his grandchildren, Adelina and Raúl and Joaquin and Belen and Floyd the fourth, no less. Grandpas love their grandchildren, and he loved you. You know, he was a Tucsonan, a Southern Arizonan. We were proud of him, and he was proud of Arizona. I want to thank again our congressional representatives who are here. As Nancy Pelosi said, Democrats and Republicans both. Good for that. And for our tribal leaders who are here, you were important to him. Your mission was important to him. To Governor Hobbs, we're grateful for your presence. Mayor Regina Romero, who is with us as well, all our city, state, county, and national leaders. I'm sure you want to say to the family your prayers and best wishes. And so we begin this liturgy praying together from different religious faiths, from different places, but all one as a family, offering our prayers for Congressman Raúl Grijalva. And so please stand. The grace and peace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with all of you. And with your spirit. In the waters of baptism, Raúl died with Christ and rose with him to new life. May he now share with him eternal glory. When he was first baptized, a white cloth was placed on the baby Raúl. It's a reminder of the book of Revelations, which talks of all the countless people dressed in white who stand in the kingdom of God. And so now we place that pall on his remains. En el día de su bautismo, Raúl fue revestido de Cristo. Que Dios lo acoja ahora en la plenitud de su amor y lo lleve a la vida eterna. Amén. Oremos. Dios y Padre Todopoderoso, nuestra fe nos asegura que tu Hijo muerto en la cruz fue resucitado de entre los muertos como promesa de todos los que han muerto. Por este misterio, concede que tu siervo Raúl, que ha partido al descanso en Cristo, pueda participar en el gozo